here it is, my Championship 23-24 prediction. Check it out, see whether I think your team are going to get promoted to the Premier League or not. For this season prediction, I am going to be joined, to make it a bit more fun, bit of spice, I am going to be joined by Sam Payton. So I am challenging you to see whether you're better at predicting Championship than I am. I'll be quite disappointed if I lose this year. So let's check his out as well.
Hi guys, thank you very much for having me, Kyle. It is always a pleasure, never a chore, and I'm just looking forward to smashing you come the end of the season.
Starting off in number 24 spot, and Rotherham, you'll be happy because it is not your team yet. It's Huddersfield. Now, I'm just going off how terrible they were last season, and considering on the brink of going back to the Premier League a couple years ago, and then it just survived last season, I think it's time for them to go down to League One.
In 24th place, I am going for Sheffield Wednesday, and I think a big reason for that is the fact that their squad is not quite good enough, and they let Darren Moore go. I can't believe that they've parted ways at the beginning of the season. Still awaiting a replacement, I think, is madness. So that's why I've gone for them to bottom the Championship table.
Next up in 23rd spot, and I'm sorry, Rotherham fans, I know you survived last season, but it's time to go home now. League One football for you.
23rd place, and I have gone for Birmingham City. I just don't think that they've got enough quality to stay in the Championship this season. They're one of those teams that in recent years have found themselves fighting against relegation, and I think that this season it will be too much for them. I think they're going down.
And in 22nd, everyone said I was stupid last season predicting them to go down. And yes, they didn't, but they just managed to survive, and that in Cardiff. I'm sorry, so they're my three teams to go down.
22nd place, and another team that always seem to find themselves battling around relegation. It's Cardiff City. Similar to my reasons for Birmingham, I just don't think they're going to have enough this season to stay up, and the 2023-24 season is going to be the one that sees Cardiff City go down.
In 21st position, and in QPR. What happened last season? I don't see them getting much better. I mean, it's terrible. I don't know how they played so bad. They just managed to stay up. And I think they will just manage to stay up again. But I can't see them doing any better than they did if they don't change things at the club. So sorry, QPR.
QPR in 21st place. That is crazy from you, mate. For me, in 21st place, I am going to go with Rotherham. I just think that they've got enough to stay up this season. It's going to be close, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them down. But at the same time, when I'm comparing all of these teams and the current position that they find themselves in, I think that Rotherham will just about be okay, but it's going to be close.
In 20th position, I'm going for Bristol City. Now, they may have finished in 14th last season, firm mid-table spot, but I think the teams that have come up are better than them, as well as the teams, obviously, that have gone down. We're just going to just knock them down a few places, which is why I'm going to say they're finishing in 20th position.
20th place, and I've gone for Hull. I think that the Tigers are going to struggle to stay up this season. They've got some serious investment needed in that squad if they want to cement a place higher up in the table, but I think they'll just about be okay this year.
In 19th, can you guess who it will be? I'll give you a minute. Birmingham. Did you guess that? If not, why? This is their last 7 seasons. 19th, 19th, 17th, 20th, 18th, 20th, 17th. That finishing position between 17th and 20th for 7 seasons. 7 years of the Championship. Like, I can see why Birmingham fans are getting a bit restless, because that is boring, that is terrible. Just surviving relegation every year, but not pushing any further in the league. They go up to 17s, they're back down, they're here, they're back down. Awful, so that's why I'm putting them in 19th again, 8 seasons in a row.
19th place, now I'm going to go for Bristol City. There's not much really for me to say here that hasn't already been said. I think that they are a pretty poor squad. I think that there's enough talent in there just to get them to stay up. But I think without further investment, they could see themselves dragged into a relegation battle, maybe even deeper than they would like into the season. But I think they will just about stay up.
18th, I haven't really done any research into Hull. I mean, they're quite a boring team. I've never gone there. It's too far away. I don't really want to travel like 5.5 hours to go to Hull, to be perfectly honest. And I don't see them back in the Premier League anytime soon. And that's just the reason why I've put Hull in 18th position. I'm sorry.
So in 18th place are actually one of the teams that you've got to go down. It's Huddersfield. I just about think that they'll be okay. But at the same time, if they were relegated, I wouldn't be surprised. I think anyone in this bottom half of the table are all within a reasonable shout of being relegated. But I think they're just about going to stay up in 18th place.
In 17th position, unfortunately, I'm going with Preston. And I think I did similar last season. I think they finished a bit higher than that, but not a lot higher. They started the season not conceding any, but not really scoring any either. They actually finished the season with 9 0-0 draws. Need I say more?
17th place for me, I've gone for one of the newbies and probably the strongest of the lot that have come up. It is Plymouth. I just think that they've got a great squad, and okay, they've lost a couple of key names, but I think that there is a strong enough foundation and belief in that dressing room that I think that they will do very, very well. Comfortably staying up, and I think it's going to be a good season for Plymouth.
In 16th, Stoke, Alex Neil. They finished 16th last season, and I think they probably will again. Alex Neil.
16th place, and for me this is probably the biggest shock in my table. It's Leicester City. I think that they are going to be absolutely ransacked of their best players. James Maddison obviously just left for Tottenham. I think they are doomed. They haven't got a great set of youth players that have had first team experience. It's a new challenge for most of the players in this squad, and Jamie Vardy unfortunately isn't the player that he used to be. I think he will stay, but I don't think he's going to tear the championship apart, and Leicester City are in real danger of going down, but I think that they've just about got enough to stay up in the championship, but it's not looking like a good season for Leicester fans.
In 15th position and newly promoted, Plymouth Argyle back to the championship, and I think they belong here. They've just redeveloped the stadium, does look good. I'm looking forward to going back there again next season. I think they have a great side, a couple more signings, and I think they will finish their season back in the championship, their first season back in the championship, in a firm mid-table spot. 15th, I think they'll be very happy with that one. Big up Matt Butcher.
15th place, I've gone for Stoke City. They're one of those teams that always seem to be floating around the lower half of the mid-table. I think it's going to be very much the same kind of season for Stoke this year. Can't see them pushing up higher into the top half of the table, let alone the playoffs. 15th place is where I've got them.
In 14th position, Norwich. Now, what did I say, eh? I said no more yo-yos, and I still am sticking with that. No more yo-yos for Norwich City. I'm sorry, Delia Smith. Let's be having ya.
14th place in a team that you've got to get relegated. I'm going with QPR. I know that they had a catastrophic end to their season compared to how they started it, but I think that there is enough quality in this team to maybe even see them push higher up the table. I'm not that confident that that's going to happen though, so that's why I've gone for them in 14th place, but I think they'll be okay for relegation.
In 13th position, another newly promoted side, Sheffield Wednesday. Fantastic playoff win and back to where they belong. And I'm sure a position like this, 13th, would be very happy. I'm sure they'll be very happy. I would be happy with that if we finished there in our first season. Actually, we did better than that. But Wednesday fans, would you be happy with this position? Or would you like to be pushing on further immediately?
Sheffield Wednesday in 13th place. I think you're crazy for that, but for me, I've gone for Ipswich. And I know I said earlier that Plymouth are probably the strongest side of the teams that got promoted from League One. Scrap that. For me, it's Ipswich, and that's why I've gone for them in 13th place. I think they're going to have a great season, and I cannot wait for that East Anglian derby against Norwich. It's going to be a massive season for Ipswich.
In 12th place, I'm going with Swansea. Now, let's see, mid-table they finished, I think, in 10th last season, but 12th position. I don't see them doing a lot better than that. I won't lie, I do prefer Cardiff. I just think the Swans will do better. Obviously, Cardiff, I believe, will go down. It's a shame because Cardiff has a lot better ground, bit nicer fans as well.
12th place and another team that are just a very mediocre mid-table side. It is Preston North End, and I just don't see enough quality in that team for them to be pushing up higher. I think they'll be mid-table, there or thereabouts, which is why I've gone for them to finish 12th.
In 11th place, I'm going for Millwall. Now, they just missed out on the playoffs, and they definitely could have got there due to a Blackburn comeback in the last game of the season. I don't think we will see them in the Premier League anytime soon, so I don't think we're going to see that Millwall, West Ham, Derby, and let's see more of the Cups. But still another good season for Millwall.
Now in 11th place, maybe a little bit of a shock, I've gone for Blackburn Rovers. They've lost Brereton Diaz and Bradley Dack, and in my opinion, they haven't significantly strengthened enough to fill the holes of those two-star players. They've brought in a few free transfers, most notably Niall Ennis from Plymouth, who had a great campaign with them last year, but I don't think that's enough to see them challenge for the promotion spaces. Listen, I might be wrong, but for me, I don't see it happening. That's why I've gone for them to finish in 11th place.
In 10th, another newly promoted side, Ipswich. Now, I don't know why I think this. Actually, I do. Connor Chaplin. There we go.
10th place, I've gone for Swansea, and there is a decent core to this squad that could see them push higher up the table, but in recent years they have found themselves with a decent squad and just not been able to push higher up the table. I think it's going to be more of the same for them this season, so I've gone for them in 10th place.
In 9th place, I'm going for Southampton. Now, you Saints fans, I reckon that you are going to think that you're going to finish a bit higher up than this. And you ever being in the Championship, remember, for 12 seasons, for 12 years of not being in the Championship. And the Championship has evolved now, and it's become a lot more competitive than it was back in the days when you were in there. And I think they'll find it very difficult this time around. So I think a 9th place finish is very fair under the circumstances.
9th place, and it's going to be more mid-table mediocrity for this team in my opinion. It is Norwich City, a yo-yo club in recent years who found themselves finishing mid-table last year. Could they potentially kick on and reach the playoffs? Maybe. There is every chance that could happen. I personally don't see it happening, and the loss of Timu Pukki is going to be huge for them. It's going to be a sad atmosphere around Carrow Road without him around, and I don't quite think that they're going to have enough to challenge for the playoffs.
In 8th place, I'm going for Watford. Now, they looked very good against us. I saw both Watford at home and Watford away this season, and both times with 2-2. I think they look very good on the attack, even on the defence as well. Good ground. I do enjoy going there, and I can only see them progressing higher this season, to be perfectly honest, than last in each season. They are looking very good, and I can see them back in the Premier League in maybe 3 or 4 seasons.
8th place, and maybe a bit of a surprise again, I'm going with Millwall. Kyle and I both saw Sunderland away at Millwall last season, and I was very impressed with what a physical side they were. Perfect kind of side for the Championship, and they were unlucky to miss out on the playoffs last season. This time I think they will go a little bit closer, but I still think that they are going to miss out and finish in 8th place.
Now in 7th place, and just missing out on the playoffs, I'm going for Leicester City. Now I reckon a lot of people will be predicting them to win the league, or at least finish second, or even go up in the playoff. But I'm going to say none of those are not even going to make the playoffs. They won the Premier League in 2016. They won the FA Cup in 2021. The season before last, they finished 8th, and I think they got to the semi-final of the Europa Conference League. But last season, they got relegated. They're down. They're here in the Championship. And they haven't been here for a while. And I think they are going to find it very tough, this league. And I think they're going to underestimate it. I still don't know whether they've kept hold of players or whether players are starting to leave. But I can't see them staying. And maybe if they do stay, they'll do a bit better. But personally, I think Leicester going to struggle.
Now, obviously, we've got very differing opinions of where Leicester are going to finish. But in 7th place, I've gone for Coventry City. Narrowly missed out in the playoff final last season. And this season, I think they will fall just short of qualifying for the playoffs. I think that they will finish in 7th. Watching them in the playoff final and even in the Championship last season, they didn't ever really look like a Premier League side. I think that there are teams around them that have strengthened more to overtake them. And I think they will just miss out on the playoffs this season.
In 6th position, I am going for Coventry just because they did well last season. They just missed out on the playoff victory, Premier League, and I think they'll continue that on and do well.
6th place, and just in the playoffs, I've narrowly picked Watford to qualify for the playoffs. I think they are a massive club. I think there's some decent players in there, and with a bit of fortune, I can see them qualifying for the playoffs, and maybe we could see them in the Premier League the following season, but for now, I'm sticking with my 6th place position for Watford to finish.
In 5th place, I am going for Sunderland. And I predicted us to finish 10th last season, and we did better than that. We finished in 6th place. We lost in the semi-final of the playoffs. And what a fantastic season we have, and it can only get better, surely. Maybe only by one place. But with 4 great signings so far, including Job Bellingham, I mean, that is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we do next season. But again, will we make it to the Premier League? Let's find out. But either way, I think it's going to be another exciting season for us, Sunderland, and us as fans just enjoy seeing us actually work well and have a young squad that are determined and motivated. And even if we don't, again, even if we're in the top half, I think we'll be happy with 33,000 season tickets sold for next season. When you add on the aways and add on corporate and things like that, it's going to be at 38k attendance minimum every single game, and that will be amazing.
5th place, and another team that have found themselves in the Premier League in recent years, it is West Brom. Another quality team that I can see making a strong push for the playoffs, maybe finding themselves in the Premier League next season. But as I say, I think there's enough quality for them to easily qualify for the playoffs and make a strong push for promotion.
In 4th, I'm going for West Brom. Now, they had a 9th place finish last season. I just think they'll improve. They started picking up towards the end of the season, and they just were a bit too late, to be perfectly honest, for that late March into the playoffs. But I think they will make the playoffs this season. But again, will they win it?
4th place, and you Mackems watching will be happy with this, I think. It's going to be Sunderland, in my opinion. And maybe I'm being too harsh on them, because I can see a world where they qualify for the Premier League automatics. I think they've got one of the best squads in the Championship. But from what I know about Sunderland, they don't like to make it easy for themselves. Even though that they've got such a strong squad and a good core of young players, I can just see them missing out on the automatics. But hopefully for you guys, with a bit of luck, you'll make it through in the playoffs. But it all remains to be seen. For now, I've got them in 4th place.
Now in 3rd place, I'm going for Blackburn. Now, they started the season great. They just missed out on the playoff, but I just think this season they will do it and get promoted back to the Premier League by winning the playoff final.
3rd place, and a team that I can very easily see making it into the Premier League with a bit of luck, it is Middlesbrough. Now, they're a team that have been in and around the playoffs for the last few seasons, and I think that this year will be no different. I think that they will make a strong push for the automatics, but I think they'll narrowly miss out based on the quality of the 2 teams that I've got above them. But 3rd place for Middlesbrough, I think, would be a fantastic achievement for them. It's where I think they're going to finish.
In 2nd place, I'm going for Leeds United. Now, they know the Championship very well, and I think they will go straight back up. Shout out to the most loyal Leeds fan that I know, Matt Pickford. He's a legend.
2nd place for me, and a team that you put in 8th, it is Southampton. Now, Southampton, as we all know, had a pretty torrid time last season, despite taking points off my team Chelsea. They finished bottom of the league, but I look at their squad and I think that there is quality there, especially in the Championship. If they can keep hold of James Ward-Prowse, which it's looking like they're going to do so, I think they'll finish in an automatic qualification for the Premier League next season, and I think that really they should finish in the top 2.
And in 3rd position, if you haven't worked it out and not noticed the teams that are on there, it is Middlesbrough. Now, that reason why when Michael Carrick took over, they were struggling in the league. He took over, and they've started pushing up, and they finished 4th. Yeah, they may have lost in the semi-finals of the playoffs against Coventry, but I think they're going to just do so much better, and especially if they keep Chuba Akpom, who got, I think, 29 goals last season, or quite a lot anyway, high 20s. They're going to win it next season, and they're going back to the Premier League. Michael Carrick and Akpom together, and that team, obviously. So, that's my prediction. Obviously, they're going to be divided opinions about it, I'm sure, as there were last season, and saying that I'm drunk. But again, this is my predictions. Your predictions will be different, because we have different outlets on life. So, who do you think was better, mine or Sam Payton's? Let us know in the comments, and look at his channel as well, because he does some banging vlogs, and he will be bringing out many more in the new season. So.
First place, and you could call it bias because of the shirt that I'm wearing, but I do genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that it will be Leeds United. Taking all the bias out of this prediction, I look at their squad and I think that there is quality in that team. And let's remember as well that they're a team that were very recently in the Championship. There are still players in that team who knows what it takes to get this side promoted back to the Premier League where they belong. I think that their new ownership are very patient, very calculated, and a group of people that will make the right decision for the head coach. But I can't lie, the fact that they haven't got a manager is really alarming. And for me, whether or not they actually win the Championship, it all depends on that recruitment. I may be being too confident in the ownership here, but like I say, Leeds season rides and dies on who they appoint as their head coach. Thank you very much for having me, guys. I'm sure I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for being on the channel, Sam. In your own words, peace and love. See you soon.